Looking for an easy breezy sewing project to make? Let's make these shorts together today. Find the link for the pattern in the description, print your pattern, and come back to my channel to make it together. You need 1 meter of your knit fabric, 1.5 meters of 1/2 inch wide elastic, pins, fabric marker or chalk, a ruler, and of course your scissors. Find the selvage edge of your fabric, fold it in half lengthwise. It's important to fold the fabric good side touching good side. And because this pattern is very wide, we need to fold the fabric lengthwise, otherwise the pattern won't fit on the fabric. Place the pattern on the fabric and make sure the grain line is parallel to the selvage edge. If you want to make the shorts a little bit longer, add some length to bottom of the pattern. Use some weights to keep the pattern on the fabric and pin all around. And start cutting. One tip for cutting, always keep the fabric on the table, have one hand on the fabric, and keep your scissors on the table and cut. These little lines on the pattern are notches. Use the tip of your scissors and snip the fabric. Now, because we already fold the fabric good side on good side, you can go ahead and pin the layers without moving the fabric. These two curves are crotch seams, and we are going to sew them at 5/8 of an inch seam allowance. That's about like 1.5 centimeters, if you're wondering. Never start right at the edge of the fabric, because the fabric might get stuck under the presser foot. Always leave a little gap, backstitch all the way to the edge, and then start stitching forward. Don't forget to backstitch at the end and cut. Now the other side, backstitch first and sew. Now, just to reinforce the seam, we will switch to zigzag. You can also make the zigzags a little bit bigger. And zigzag right beside the seam. When you have the piece flat on the table, you notice one curve is bigger than the other. The bigger one is the back, and the smaller one is the front crotch. You may go ahead and mark the front and back on your fabric. Now lift one layer from the middle, turn the shorts, and place the crotch seams on top of each other. Line up the crotch seams right on top of each other. You can fold the seam allowances to opposite sides and place one pin on each seam allowance. We're going to sew straight at 5/8 of an inch seam allowance. You're probably freaking out watching me sewing over the pins without breaking the needle. This is because I use very thin and long pins. Pull the pins out. Switch to zigzag and sew right beside the seam that you just sewed. Now have the shorts flat on the table, good side out, flip one layer and find a notch on the seam allowance. It's 2 inches above the edge. This is where we're gonna fold the waist. Keep the fabric flat and pin right at the edge. Try to keep the fabric flat on the table, don't lift the fabric. Also, when you're pinning, do not pin away from the waistband. This is wrong because you're not holding the waistband down. Try to poke over the waistband, in and out. I cut this little piece of a fabric and I want to place it under the waist just to be able to distinguish the back from the front. This way when you're wearing the shorts, you know which one is back, which one is front. Now at the back of the waist, you want to measure 3/4 of an inch below the waist. That's about like 2 centimeters. And then another mark 2 inches away from the first one. We're not going to sew between these two, starting from one, going all around and stop right before the first one. Most of the sewing machine have this grid that you can line up the edge of the fabric. If you don't have it on your machine, measure from the needle going towards right 3/4 of an inch and draw a line. Don't forget we're not sewing between these two marks. Line up the waist with the mark on the machine and then start. Keep watching the edge, make sure it's lined up with the line. Go all around and stop just before the mark on the waist. Backstitch and cut. Now we need to line up the raw edge of the waist with the side of the presser foot that is closer to the needle. If the needle on your machine was originally in the middle, change its position and move it to the left. Start exactly where you start the first stitching. Now watch the raw edge of the fabric and keep it lined up with the edge of the presser foot. Sew all around and finish exactly where you finished the first line. Let's measure the elastic. Wrap the elastic around your waist. Make it slightly tight, the way that you like the shorts to fit. And then cut them there. Cut another piece of the elastic, exactly the same measurement as the first one. Grab a safety pin, pin it to the one end. Pin the other end to the waist. Now feed the safety pin through the first tunnel. If the safety pin gets stuck at the seam, just try to open the tunnel a little bit and then feed the safety pin in. Push it forward and pull the fabric from the back. Just to be careful not to twist the elastic. Keep it flat and go all around the waist. Now pull it out from the hole. Now here I'm pinning it to the waist to go back and check my work. I want to make sure the elastic is not twisted. If it's all good, pull the pins out. Overlap the ends of the elastic for about like ½ inch. Pin it back with the safety pin. And now you can try the shorts on. We want to make sure the elastic is tight enough. Now, let's say you try them on and it's a little bit loose. Pull the pin out. Make the overlap a little bit bigger and then pin it again. Now you have to measure the overlap because you want to make sure for the other elastic you also have the same exact measurement of the overlap. We are going to sew few rows of stitches on the overlap. Switch to zigzag and sew. Now go ahead and repeat the exact same steps for the second piece of the elastic. So far so good. Are you learning new things? Don't forget to subscribe to my channel, then I can make more videos to teach you more. Now we can go back and finish the stitching on the waist. Make sure adjust the elastic in the tunnel and not to catch it as you're sewing. Keep the fabric flat and sew. Now, in order to stop the elastic from twisting, you need to first pull the waist a couple times to spread the elastic evenly, and then stitch right over the seams on the waist, front and back. Try to adjust the needle to drop right on the seam and sew. I'd like to hem these shorts 1/2 inch, but if you like them a little bit shorter, you can hem up to like 2 inches. I'm gonna draw a line 1/2 inch above the edge all around the hem. Keep the fabric flat on the table, fold the edge right at the line, and pin. We need to stitch very close to the raw edge, but when you have a stitching that it will show on your garment, it's always better to have the good side of the fabric facing up, because the stitching on top of the fabric always looks nicer than the stitching that comes from the bobbin. So let me show you how to do that. Place the fabric under the presser foot and line up the raw edge with the edge of the presser foot that is closer to the needle. Now check to see where does the fold of the fabric will be lined up with. In my case, it's lining up with the edge of the presser foot. Now flip the shorts to the good side, line up the fold, and sew. This way we will know for sure that we will catch the hem as we are sewing. Now give it a press with the iron. And done. Thanks for watching. Don't forget to write down in the comments if you like these shorts.